What if I told you the most powerful force shaping global politics today isn't armies, missiles, or military strength? It's a currency, not a secret weapon, not a classified technology, just money. And yet, this one system has the ability to pressure entire countries, influence decisions at the highest level, and quietly reshape the global order, all without visible conflict. This is the hidden power of the US dollar. And once you understand how it works, you'll never look at global events the same way again. Because in today's world, control isn't just about territory. It's about controlling the system everyone depends on. Most people think of money in a very simple way, something you earn, spend, or save. But at the global level, money becomes something far more powerful. It becomes influence. The US dollar is not just America's currency. It acts as the backbone of the global financial system. Countries use it to buy essential resources like oil. Companies rely on it for international trade. Banks use it to move money across borders. And central banks store it as a reserve to protect their economies. This means even when two countries are trading with each other, for example, India and Brazil, there's a strong chance the transaction still involves the dollar. And that's where the real power begins. To understand how this system came into existence, we need to go back to the 1940s. At the end of World War II, much of the world was economically damaged. Europe was rebuilding, and many countries were struggling to stabilize their economies. But the United States was in a very different position. It had a strong economy, a stable government, and massive industrial capacity. In 1944, global leaders came together to design a new financial system. In that system, the dollar became the central anchor. Over time, even as the system evolved and changed, the dominance of the dollar remained. Why? Because it was stable, because people trusted it, and because global trade increasingly depended on it. The dollar didn't just remain important, it became deeply embedded in how the world works. Now imagine the global economy as a giant network. Money flows constantly between countries, businesses, and financial institutions. But here's the key detail. A large portion of these flows passes through systems connected to the United States. That creates a unique kind of influence. Instead of direct confrontation, power can be applied through control of access. If a country loses access to key parts of this system, the effects can be immediate and serious. International trade becomes harder. Financial transactions slow down. Access to global markets becomes limited. And economic stability begins to weaken. This is what makes financial pressure so effective. It doesn't rely on visible action. It works quietly, but its impact can be deeply felt. What makes this even more interesting is that even countries that disagree with US policies often still depend on the dollar. That's because replacing it isn't easy. The dollar offers three things that are hard to match at the same time: stability, trust, and scale. If a country wants to borrow money internationally, lenders often prefer dollar-based agreements. If a company wants to trade globally, using the dollar reduces risk. If a central bank wants to store wealth safely, dollar assets are still one of the most trusted options. This creates a situation where dependence continues even when there are political differences. And that dependence translates into influence. But this system isn't without consequences. As financial tools are used more frequently to apply pressure, other countries have started to take notice. They are asking an important question. What happens if access to this system is restricted? That concern has led to efforts to reduce reliance on the dollar. Some countries are now exploring alternatives. They are trading using their own currencies. They are building new financial networks. They are increasing gold reserves, and they are experimenting with digital systems outside traditional frameworks. China, for example, has been promoting its currency in international trade. Other nations are slowly adjusting their strategies to reduce exposure. However, replacing the dollar is extremely difficult. Because it's not just about having a currency, it's about having global trust, deep financial markets, and long-term stability. And right now, no alternative fully matches that combination. This is why the dollar continues to play such a central role in global power. It allows influence without visible confrontation. It creates pressure without traditional conflict. And it shapes decisions in ways that are often invisible to the public. But at the same time, every use of this influence encourages others to think about alternatives. So, while the dollar remains dominant today, the long-term future is still evolving. The nature of global competition is changing. It's no longer only about physical strength or territorial control. It's about systems, financial systems, trade networks, technology infrastructure, and global connectivity. Because in a connected world, controlling the system can be more powerful than controlling land. And right now, the dollar sits at the center of that system. So when we look at global events, it's important to understand that not all power is visible. Some of the most important shifts don't happen on battlefields. They happen in financial decisions, in policy changes, in trade agreements, and in the movement of money across borders. No noise, no dramatic visuals, just quiet pressure that can influence the direction of entire economies. And that is how the dollar shapes global outcomes, without firing a single bullet.